In this video we are going to take a quick run through some of the problems in review section 1.2 from our textbook. So let's look at problem number 6. Write an equation of the line containing the given point and parallel to the given line. Express your answer in the form y equals mx plus b. So that would be slope-intercept form. Well, what this review question is getting at is if you remember how to find the slope and how to find the slope of a parallel line. So let's write down the equation of the line they give us. X plus 9y is equal to 4. So in order to find the slope of this line, we need to put it in point-slope form, which is just some simple algebra. So we will add the opposite of x to both sides, and then we will divide both sides by 9. So the slope of this line is negative 1/9. Now we are looking for the slope of a line that is parallel to this line. And hopefully what you remember from algebra class is that parallel lines have the same slope. If you have two lines that are parallel, you'll notice they have the same steepness. So they have the same slope. So the line we are looking for also has slope of negative 1/9. So the slope we are interested is negative 1/9. And from the problem we're told that the line goes to the point 5,8. Now there are many ways of teaching how to get the equation of the line. You can use the point-slope form, you can use the slope-intercept form, and use the point to solve for the intercept. I don't want to reteach you how to do that. You can do it any way you want. I will use the point-slope form, which is y minus the y coordinate of the point equals the slope times the quantity x minus the x coordinate of the point. Now that's not the form of the line they want. They want the line in slope-intercept form, so we have to do some algebra. So y is equal to minus 1/9 x plus 5/9 and plus 8. So we're still not quite there. We have to combine our constant terms. 5/9 plus 8. 8 is the same as 72/9. So finally, y is minus 1/9 x plus 77/9. So now we need to enter this in. And again, they ask in slope-intercept form, so y equals negative 1/9. I'll use the fraction palette. 1 tab to get to the denominator, 9th. Use the arrow key to get out of the denominator, x, plus, and I'll use the fraction palette again, 77, tab to get to the denominator, 9. And let's check. So that is that problem. The next one that gave some trouble was problem number 7. I'm not going to go through that one because that is pretty much the same as problem number 6. They give you a line and they ask you to find a line parallel. So we'll skip over that one and jump right to problem 8, which is similar. Write an equation for the line containing the given point and perpendicular to the given line. So the line we are given this time is 7x plus y equals 3. So we need to find the slope of this because that's related to the slope of the perpendicular line. So we'll put this in slope-intercept form, which means the slope is negative 7. So that should not be new to anyone. And as a review, if lines are perpendicular, you may have learned this in any number of ways, the product of the slopes is -1, or another way is that the slope has the negative reciprocal of the slope that it is perpendicular to. So the negative reciprocal of -7 would be 1/7, and that's the slope we are looking for. And we are also given a point. We are given the point 5, 6. So now we can put the line in slope-intercept form. And again, feel free to do this the way you learned in algebra class. I will use the point-slope form. Y minus the y-coordinate of the point equals the slope times the quantity x minus the x-coordinate of the point. And now all that's left to do is clean it up. So 1/7 x minus 5/7. And then we need to add 6 to both sides. So since I'm running out of room here, we'll go to a new page. Okay. So y is 1/7 x minus 5/7 plus 6. And again, all we need to do is get a common denominator. 6 is the same as 42/7. So finally, 1/7 x plus 37/7. And now all we need to do is enter that. We will use the fraction palette, 1 tab 7. Use the arrow key to get it out of the denominator, 7x, plus, and we'll use the fraction palette again, 37 tab 7. And check. Okay. Okay, next let's look at problem number 9, which is a simple algebra problem where we have to solve the equation. So just because we're practicing, I will do this both by hand and on the TI Inspire calculator. I'll use the Inspire because that's the one I can project on the screen. Remember, the TI-89 has similar capabilities. So we need to solve the equation 8 minus 1 over t is equal to 7 over t squared. Now in this case we will want to clear out the fractions by multiplying through by the common denominator, which in this case is t squared. So we will multiply the entire equation by t squared, and if we do that, we have 8t squared minus t is equal to 7. So we have a nice quadratic equation. Oops, that should be a t there. So there is our equation. Now you can try to factor this, or you can use the quadratic formula. I think we might be able to factor this one. So let's take a look. And again, depending on how good your factoring is, you can have the calculator factor this, or you can do your own factoring. And again, factoring is taught many different ways, so stick with the factoring that you learned and know. Okay, but I think we can factor this one. We have the 8 and the 7, and we can combine those to get -1. So it looks like we would be okay in doing this. And we can double check using FOIL. 8t squared plus 8t, or minus 8t, plus 7t, which gives us the -t, and then minus 7. So of course that means 8t plus 7 is equal to 0, or t minus 1 is equal to 0. Let me fix that. Which of course means t is -7/8, or t is 1. Now we'll put that in and check it, and then we'll try it on the calculator. So notice they want a solution set. Type an integer or a fraction, use a comma to separate your answers as needed. Let's put in the smallest number first, negative 7/8. Get out of the fraction, and comma 1. And let's see how we did. Okay, let's switch to the TI Inspire and see how the TI Inspire will handle this. So we'd like to solve the equation. Don't forget, everything comes from the menu. So menu, we want to do some algebra, so option 3. We want to solve an equation, so option 1. What do we want to solve? We want to solve 8 minus 1 over t equals 7 over t squared. And we want to solve that for t. And you'll notice we get the same answer. Remember, I'm not testing your algebra skills. I'm assuming you know algebra, so we can leave some of the algebra to the TI Inspire or the TI 89. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. So this is problem number 10, where we have to solve an equation. Notice it has fractions, so we will want to use the common denominator to clear out the fractions. So let's take a look. So 3 divided by 2x minus 1 over the quantity 2 times x plus 10. 2 times the quantity x plus 10. And that equals 1. We can see from this that the common denominator would be 2x times the quantity x plus 10. So that's what we need to multiply both sides by. So on the left here, let's write this down. And on the right hand side, that's easier to multiply. Okay, so let's multiply. So 2x times the quantity x plus 10. Notice that the 2x's will cancel, so we're left with 3 times the quantity x plus 10. And for the next expression, the 2 and the x plus 10 will cancel, so we are left with simply minus x. And on the right, we have 2x squared plus 20x. Well, this is a quadratic equation, so what we need to do is bring everything to one side or the other. Let's clean up a little bit. So 3x plus 30 minus x is equal to 2x squared plus 20x. Let's bring everything over to the right to keep our x squared term positive. So we have 2x squared. We have 20x. We will be subtracting 2x. We have 3 minus x. That's 2x over here. So when we subtract 2x from both sides, we get 18x. And when we subtract 30 from both sides, we have minus 30. So that's the equation we need to solve. You might notice that we can factor out a common factor of 2. And that's the equation we need to solve. So this will be equal to 0 when x squared plus 9x minus 15 is 0. And you can think about that for a while and realize, well, I don't think we can factor that nicely, so we'll have to resort to the quadratic formula. So let's get a fresh page. And let me remind you what the quadratic formula is. Now this is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's the only time you can use the quadratic formula. And remember, the formula is the opposite of b. There are two solutions, one add, one subtract. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now that is something I would expect you to have memorized at this level. So let's see what we have. The opposite of b, you can see that b is 9. So negative 9. Two solutions, 1 plus, 1 minus. B squared, 9 squared. Minus 4 times a times c. 4 times a, which is 1. Times c, which is negative 15. So two negatives will make a positive. 4 times 15 would be 60. And then all over 2 times a. Let's see if we can simplify this. 81 plus 60, 141. So we can simplify this if 141 has a perfect square in it. 141 is divisible by 3, but if you divide by 3 you get 47, which is not divisible by 3 again, so it doesn't have 9 in it. And you can use some trial and error for some other things until you realize that the square root of 141 cannot be simplified. So let's go put our answer in. Now we can't type our answer in as plus or minus. It's asking for the solution set and it wants us to use a comma to separate our answers. So we'll have to put them in one at a time. Make use of the palettes. So the opposite of 9, we'll do the plus one first. The square root of 141. Tab gets us out of the square root. Tab takes us to the denominator over 2, comma, and we'll use the palettes again. Negative 9 minus the square root of 141. And again, you can click on the denominator too if you'd like to go right to it. All over 2. Let's see how we did. Alright, now that was a lot of effort just to solve an equation. And in calculus we will need to solve equations. But it's not our primary goal. We will solve equations in the service of calculus. So that was a lot of effort just to solve an algebra problem that you've probably done 100 times before in your math career. So let's try this out on the TI Inspire. So we need to solve, so everything runs from the menu. So menu, we would like to do some algebra, so option 3. And we would like to solve an equation, so option 1. What would we like to solve? 3 divided by 2x. Now let's be careful. Let's put our 2x in parentheses so it doesn't think it's 3/2 x. So 3 over 2x minus 1 over, and we'll be careful on the quantity here, divided by 2 times x plus 10. Oops. So there is our denominator. And what do we want to solve for? Oops, I forgot the equal 1. Equal 1, and what do we want to solve for? We want to solve for x. And you will see the quadratic formula right there in slightly different form. They put the radicals first. Okay, but it is the exact same answer. So again, I encourage you to use your calculator. Do not spend a lot of time on algebra. We're trying to learn calculus, and I am assuming you know algebra, so please take advantage of your calculator. All right, let's look at the next problem. That gave some people trouble. And that was problem 11. So let's take a look. So in problem 11, again, we have another equation to solve. This time it is not getting a common denominator, but using square roots. So let's see what we have here. We would like to solve 2y is equal to the square root of 10 minus 3y. Now when we want to solve square root equations, what we do is apply the squaring function to both sides. So 4y squared. And now you'll notice that the square root is gone. And again, we have another quadratic equation. 4y squared plus 3y minus 10 equals 0. And you can see if this factors. You can try the quadratic formula. Now in this case we have 4 and 10, which gives us 40, and I can think of factors of 40 that actually give us 3, namely 8 and 5. So let's see if we can do this. So let's try 4y and y. I need to get 8 and 5, so I can get 8 and 5 with a 2 and a 5. Now I just need to work out the signs. I need to get positive 3, and so if I use 4 and plus 2, that gives me 8, and minus 5 is 3, and the 5 times the 2 with the negative sign gives me the negative 10. So this means 4y minus 5 is equal to 0, or y plus 2 is equal to 0, which of course means y is 5/4, or y is negative 2. Now, whenever you square both sides of an equation and you have a square root involved in your function, you might introduce what you might remember from algebra as extraneous roots. So let's check our solutions here, and let's get a fresh page. So there's our original equation. And the solutions that we came up with were -2 and 5/4. So let's check those. Let's check -2. When we try -2 into this equation, we get -4 is equal to the square root of 16, which is incorrect. The square root of 16 is actually 4. And let's check 5/4. So when we multiply 5/4 times 2, we actually get 5/2. Now let's see what we get over here on the right hand side. The square root of 10 minus 15/4. So let's see if that's correct. So that would be the square root of 40/4 minus 15/4. So that would be the square root of 25/4, which is 5/2. So correct. So we do only have one solution, because remember, when you square both sides of an equation, you might introduce extraneous solutions. So since 5/2 is equal to 5/2, that means the solution that we found, 5/4, is indeed a solution. So let's check and see how we did. Okay, now once again, that was a great deal of work to do some algebra, and you need to remember that these are just review problems, and for the homework for calculus, we will be doing calculus problems that might require this as a sub-problem, so we want to concentrate on the calculus. So again, let me show you how this is done on your calculator. And again, it's a solve. It's a simple solve. So everything runs from the menu on the Nspire. I want to do some algebra. I want to solve an equation. I want to solve 2y equals the square root of 10 minus 10 minus 3y. Get out of the square root, and I would like to solve that for y. And there's your solution, 5/4. So again, remember, this class is concentrating on calculus. It is assumed you know algebra, so I don't want you spending a lot of time grinding out the algebra. Okay, let's look at the next one. So the next problem that some people had trouble with was problem 22. So So let's go take a look and see what that one looks like. So this is about shifting. So you're given the graphs of functions f and g, and they are shifts and scales of the absolute value function, y equals the absolute value of x. So find formulas. I will refer you here to the summary of shifting on page 21 of your textbook. So please check that out. That reminds you that shifting and scaling, left, right, up, down, there's a summary given on page 21. So let's just talk our way through this one. So function f is the red one in the graph, and you will notice, and if you don't notice, you can use the zoom feature. You will notice that it is the graph of the absolute value of x shifted 1 to the right and 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So we have y equals the absolute value of x, and we go 1 right and 4 up. So if you remember, by shifting right, that will give us absolute value of x minus 1. And then by shifting 4 up, that will give us plus 4. Okay, so let's enter that. So we need the absolute value, so we'll use the palette. Absolute value of x minus 1. Use the arrow to get out of the absolute value, and plus 4. See how we did? Okay. Then it moves us on to G, so you'll notice G is in blue, it looks like. And again, let's get a better look by clicking on the zoom button. So you'll notice for that one, let's get a fresh page here. So we started with y equals the absolute value of x, and it looks like we did a couple things here. For one thing, it looks like we flipped it upside down. Right, so we flip across the x-axis, and then after it's flipped, it looks like we went 1, 2, 3 to the left, and then we went 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So again, referring to page 21 of your text, flipping means you multiply by -1. Then moving 3 to the left would be x plus 3, and then 4 down is minus 4. So let's see how we did there. So, negative, use the palette, absolute value, x plus 3, and minus 4. Okay. Now, by the way, before you click check answer, if you wanted to, you could graph your guess or your answer and see if it comes out looking like the graph on the screen. So that is shifting, flipping, and scaling. And again, a review is on page 21. Next, we have problem 26. Let's take a look at that one. 26 is about solving systems of equations. So let's take a look at that one. Again, this is a topic from algebra class that hopefully you remember. So we have a system of 2 linear equations and 2 unknowns. So let's take a look at that. So let's look at this system of equations. They want to solve this using the substitution method, which, as I said before, means solving one of the equations for one of the variables and substituting into the other. So let's write this down here. We have 7y minus 4x is equal to 53. X minus 6y is equal to negative 43. Now this equation looks like the equation we would want to solve. the second one, because it's easily solved for x. X is 6y minus 43. So if we substitute that into the first equation, we have 7y minus 4x, which is 6y minus 43, is equal to 53. So we'll simplify a little bit here. Minus 24y and plus 172. So we'll combine like terms here into minus 17y. And we'll subtract 172 from both sides, and we get negative 119. You can check those on your calculator. So y is 119 over 17, which, as you can check on your calculator, is actually equal to 7. So what does that mean x is? X is 6y, so 6 times 7, minus 43. So 42 minus 43, or negative 1. So that means our solution is negative 1, comma 7. That ordered pair, so let's check it out. We need an ordered pair, so we use the palette. So negative 1, comma 7. So let's see how we did. And that is correct. Now again, solving systems of equations is something that you really should let your calculator handle. Now here is a place where solving systems of equations is quite different on the NSPIRE and the TI-89. So let me first take you to the NSPIRE. And let's get a fresh screen here. So menu, actions, number 5, clear history. Okay. So this is algebra, so menu, algebra. And now we do want to solve, but we want to solve a system of equations. You can see that here at number 7. And when you choose number 7, you have a choice, a system of equations or a system of linear equations. So we actually have a system of linear equations. So let's choose that one. We have 2 equations to solve for. The variables we're using are x and y, so we'll say OK. And notice how the NSPIRE gives you room for both equations, so let's put them in. 7y minus 4x equals 53. And x minus 6y equals negative 43. And there's the same solution. Now I can't project a TI-89 on the screen here, so let me just show you what the command would be. So we want to use the F2 algebra menu. And then we want to solve an equation. So we'll choose option 1, solve. And that pastes solve into the command line. And now we type in the equations that we want to solve. You actually type them both in. So 7y minus 4x equal to 53. And now we need the word and, which you can actually type, or you can do the math menu, which would be second 5, because math is above 5. Then you choose option 8 for test, and then you choose option 8 for the word and. Now again, you can type the word and, but if you'd like to get it from the menu, that's where you can get the word and from. And then you put in the second equation after the and. X minus 6y equals minus 43. And now you tell it what you want to solve for. Now I'm going to need more space here, so you have to have a comma. And then you need to put what you want to solve for in curly parentheses. So after the comma, I'm just going to move down here. Curly parentheses, I want to solve for x, comma, y. Close the curly parentheses, and then close the parentheses for solve. And then if you press enter, you'll get the same solution. So it's slightly different on the TI-89, but you can solve two equations at once. You just type the first equation, the word and, the second equation, comma, and then the two things you want to solve for in curly brackets. So it's slightly different on the TI-89, but you can still do it. Okay, finally, some people had trouble with number 28, which was another system of equations, so I will just let you do that on your calculator and try that one on your own. So that was a walk through some of the problems in 1.2 that gave people trouble. Hopefully this review helped you, and we will move on from here.